All right, what is going on, guys? So today we are doing kind of a part 3 to my whole death, rise, whatever of the horror community on YouTube. I've now made 2 other videos. I highly recommend you check them out. And if you're coming from one of those 2 videos, welcome to the third. I'm sure you were probably brought by somebody else because this got a little bit of traction outside of my channel. So, if you're from that, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, today we are doing some of the channels that have gotten big in recent times when it comes to the horror community. Now, this video was suggested by a commenter. Much like the second part of this, you guys have actually been really good about giving me comments and, ideas for videos relating to this kind of topic. So I really do appreciate it. If you want to go ahead and leave one down below this one for another video you would like to see, I do appreciate it and I will be taking it into consideration for sure. But this video in specific was suggested by the Woody, who said that he wanted a video that was who reignited the horror community on YouTube. And so I thought, that's something I've never done before, but I'm definitely interested. So the channels that were suggested in this comment were Nightmare Files, Chilling Horror, and Mr. Baldwin. Yeah, that was it. There we go. So I went ahead and I took a look at all of these recently. I took a look at their subscribers, how, recently they were created, stuff like that. Are they really big contributors to a new kind of generation of horror on YouTube? And I thought, yeah, a lot of them are. And I also went ahead and found one of my own that I've been watching a lot recently that's kind of new to the whole thing still. And, so I thought, this is a good video idea. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. So the first channel that we are going to be taking a look at that's kind of reignited the horror community on YouTube, kind of into the second generation sort of thing. This one has quite a large following. It's Mr. Baldwin. I don't know if you've heard of him. He has quite a few subscribers, though. He's at over 5 million, so, that's pretty impressive. And while he is kind of this newer, different kind of horror, so that's why he is in this video, the channel was created in 2015. So, it's not the newest horror, but he does have a very different style that I enjoy. It's really entertaining. He kind of sits in front of the camera and talks through everything. There's visuals and stuff too. It's good. It almost reminds me of something and this is somebody that I think I will also talk about later in the video that I didn't plan to, but now that I'm thinking about it, it sounds like a really good idea. He's kind of similar to Wendagoon, where he's, sitting in front of the camera, interacting with the audience still, but also tying into these horror events and situations and stuff like that. So really cool channel, definitely playing a part in kind of keeping people interested in the horror genre, I think, on YouTube. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next channel. So the next one I wanted to take a look at was Nightmare Files. Now, Nightmare Files is the channel that essentially led to the blowing up of this whole kind of mini series, I guess, with these, horror on YouTube videos. He put my original what happened to the horror community on YouTube, or I don't exactly remember what I called that video, but something around there. He went ahead and posted that on his community page because I guess he had been sent it. And so, yeah, that really got me a lot of traction. So huge appreciation to him for doing that. But he also makes some really interesting content. A lot of it is longer. It's kind of in the 30-minute range, but they're really good videos. They're really engaging. In fact, I was watching one and I was just going to watch a little bit to, get a good feel for like his channel and stuff before I made this video. And it was like, it was a really good video. I was like, oh, wow. I was actually getting like, really stuck into it. I was watching, I was invested. I was like, oh yeah, this is quite a video. And of course, this channel burst onto the YouTube scene in 2018. So definitely one of the newer ones out there, being only 2018. I mean, if you go to my channel and look when it was created, I think it's 2018 also. So congrats to him for doing so well, and also kind of being a part of the second generation or newer generation of horror YouTubers. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up Nightmare Files and we're going to go ahead and move on to Chilling Scares. Now, Chilling Scares is remarkably similar to Mr. Nightmare. I do enjoy the channel, of course, because I do enjoy Mr. Nightmare, but Chilling Scares feels almost like a newer, just kind of more, reinvented version of Mr. Nightmare. I could really appreciate the channel. It was obviously began in 2020 and it has around the same numbers as Nightmare Files. So, I mean, congrats to this channel. That's a pretty good size channel for only being around for like a little over a year or something. So, really cool to see another one of these channels kind of burst out onto the scene. Yes, it's a lot like Mr. Nightmare. Yes, it's a lot reading stories with the JPEG over and, stuff we kind of critiqued a little bit in the previous videos I made. But it really isn't a bad channel. It's definitely more along the traditional lines of horror, I guess, but it feels new. There's some new aspects to it. It's obviously a new channel. It's not that old. And it feels good. It feels like that primetime Mr. Nightmare has kind of come back with this channel. That's what it feels like. So, pretty cool channel. Go check it out. With that being said, we'll move on to the next one. So this next one that I personally wanted to add in, this wasn't in the comment, but this is one that I just watch or have been watching recently and is a pretty new channel, is Fascinating Horror. This channel came around in like 2019, so once again, pretty new. And it's kind of like, it's not so much, horror stories or like, specific like creepy events or anything. It's more of like disasters or, weird like fluke horror events and stuff like that, where it's like, a fluke death of somebody at an amusement park maybe or something, or a fluke incident or a disaster, going over like what caused the disaster and, the effects of the disaster. And it's really good. The videos are really good at explaining pretty much a pretty big disaster in like a short amount of time. You get the gist of it. You get what's going on. A lot of his videos are short. They're like 10 minutes or less. A couple have ranged into like 11, 12, maybe 13. But they're not long, and you really learn a lot about a creepy situation. So it's like, it's interesting. It gives you that like morbid interest kind of thing. But they really are just short, and you do learn a lot from them. They're pretty interesting. And yeah, that's one of the other newer channels that I would say is kind of made a splash in the newer horror generation of channels. And it's a pretty good channel. I really recommend it. With that being said, though, we are going to be moving on to the final channel that I'm kind of going to credit with reigniting the horror community, or at least it really reignited it for me. And I know that he's been blowing up a lot recently. and that's Wendagoon. Now, Wendagoon, he might not be the horror creator for everybody, don't get me wrong. Those die-hard horror fans might not like him, as much as they would like Chilling Scares or Nightmare Files or somebody who follows that more traditional style. You might not be the biggest fan of Wendagoon, but his videos are horror-centered, a lot of them. Some of them go into, like, religious texts or stuff like that, but they're interesting. Even for me, who isn't necessarily the biggest religious person in the world, I really enjoy his videos, even some of the ones on the religious topics, because they're like, oh, that's just an interesting, that's just an interesting work in general. Like, this is a really interesting piece of art. Like, he's gone over Dante's Inferno and, stuff like that. The 9 levels of whatever, the 7 levels of whatever. And they've been really interesting videos. I've watched all of them. They're pretty good. And on top of this, he doesn't just do, like, these creepy religious things. He also does, of course, icebergs, which is kind of what he blew up with, which... interesting concept for horror things, but it works really well, especially on his channel. He makes them really engaging, really interesting. He definitely does his research, and I can definitely appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, overall, pretty interesting channel. I definitely enjoy it. I would recommend checking out Wendagoon. He does some other videos, too, that are horror-related, like specific incidents and stuff like that. His are a little longer, just to let you know. It's kind of like Fascinating Horror has those short ones. Wendagoon has a lot longer of ones, but good nonetheless. I'm engaged pretty much the whole video. So, yeah. So if any of these channels sounded interesting to you, I highly recommend you do go check them out. I do think that they really are reigniting the horror genre, and I do want to stress that because I know that I sounded a little like overly critical in the last 2 videos, like, oh, the horror community is dying, or like, I don't like the horror community anymore, stuff like that. I saw a lot of comments that I think got that idea that I didn't like the horror community, or I didn't believe in it, or like, I thought it was dying. But it was more, some of the older channels that a lot of people watched have seemed to be, taking a little bit of a downhill route, but that happens a lot of times, with people who make content such as that, because there's only so many stories you can narrate. There's only so many events you can talk about. And once people have heard it once from you, they just don't really want to hear it again. So it's definitely hard for those older channels to keep up, with the kind of current climate. But yeah, I mean, overall, that it is what it is. A lot of these newer channels that I talked about today, or even like Mr. Baldwin, who's older, but, really stays on top of things and has made an interesting channel with the work that he does over there. They really are reigniting it and bringing people back into it. I think that maybe used to watch these older creators, but have just seen so much from them that it's not the same. So that was kind of the point that I was trying to bring up in the last 2 videos that I think a lot of people missed. I love the horror community. I love those original people, or those older channels. I really do. I love the narration and stuff like that. I still watch a lot of them. I was just commenting on their declining nature and the fact that they aren't necessarily sustainable forever. But, of course, with these new channels, I don't think the horror community is going anywhere. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is a little different. Maybe we'll take a look at a couple more things like this, where it's like stuff that's blowing up rather than just always what happened to, like, we're living in the past and talking about people whose careers have gone downhill and stuff. Maybe we'll look more at the positive side in the future with a couple more videos like this, like the bringing up of, or the creation of, or, stuff like that. So yeah, if you like that idea, make sure you leave a like. Also, feel free to leave a suggestion for any video like that. On top of this, I just wanted to say before I end the video This is part 3 to this little mini series, and this will be wrapping up my kind of horror on YouTube thing. I obviously didn't really want to make 3 videos on it, but there's been enough support that I've been able to. So I do appreciate it, and I am glad I was able to make the 3 despite it not being my original plan. However, this does not mean I'm ending talking about horror content on my channel forever. In fact, I have a later video plan that is just what happened to Scare Theater. So rather than horror on YouTube as a whole, I'm now looking into a singular individual again, much like I do with most of the What Happened To kind of series thing on my channel. So if that sounds exciting, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the like button. Leave a comment down below of any other people I should do a What Happened To for, or anything I should do a what inspired or what brought up or what created, kind of thing. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys later.